Hello everyone, this is Lori from Grammy's Keepsakes, and I've been having some fun decorating some envelopes. Here I have some CD envelopes, and I put paper on the back for journaling. I did stitch all the way around them. Here I've got another one, and I've been using up printables and scrap paper that I've had laying around. And I've got this kind of an envelope, and I've left it long on the back so that it can work as a hinge on a page. So you can either put it over the page like this and have it on this side, and you could leave it open on the top and bottom and it could be a tuck, or you could just go ahead and glue it on the page like that. And here's another one. And I believe all of these are from printables from Antique Paperie. So let me go ahead and let's make another of each so you can see my process. I use these envelopes for this one. And what I'm going to do is cut it about 3/4 of an inch from the window up. So I'll have this part left over. So it's going to look like this. I leave that open. And I'm going to use this fun little toy called a frame punch board. And what I'm going to do first is measure my envelope. I have 5 3/4 by just over 4 1/8. So I want to cut another piece of collage paper that I've printed. Just have to decide which one I want. Sometimes deciding is the hardest part. Okay, get stuff off my cutter. And so now what I want to do is trim this off at 5 3/4. My cutter is off to the right. So I've got a piece that looks like this. Now here, measure this again, and it's just over 4 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off that. So this is the piece that's going to fit here, and this is the piece that I'm going to use in here. And then I still have this much left over that I can do something else with. And I'm going to measure the widest area of my envelope, and it's the 3/4 of an inch. And so I've got my little buttons set up. Here we go, 3/4 of an inch. So put that in place, and it's at 3/4 of an inch here. So we're good. So now I'm just going to pop this in and punch every corner. And then we come to this side, lift it up, place it under, up against this bar, and I have the bar set at 3/4 of an inch. And this little round button is going to ride inside the track, and here's my blade. So I want to start it inside one of my punches and just go ahead and cut to the other side of the punch. Rotate. And I have showed this, how to use my frame punch board on another video, but in case you missed it, it's just a fun toy that I have, and I might as well use it. And then my window pops out, and then I still have this that I can use for another project. Move that aside. Grab my vintage photo, and I'm going to go ahead and ink the inside. If you have the paper seated all the way up to that bar, your cuts should be straight. And if not, you can take a pair of scissors and go ahead and trim it. Move that aside. And these are the little punches out of each of the corners. And they look like little photo corners, don't they? I'm going to go ahead and just throw them out. And that's what my frame's going to look like. So we're going to grab the glue book. And I'm going to use Scotch Create permanent glue stick. And line this up. I go for a corner and an edge, and then usually I can get the rest to line up. Use my bone folder. Then I'm going to flip it over. Do I need to do any trimming? Okay, and I want to have a little bit of a thumb notch on the front. So I'm just going to use, it's a 1.5 inch hole punch. And visually center it. And I've got about a 1/4 inch or so exposed. And I still have this open, and this was my center. Go ahead and do a dry fit. See if I have to do any trimming. Looks like it'll fit without any buckling. Get the glue book again. I try to curve it a little bit. I don't want the glue to stick until I get it all the way seated in there. and it is sticking up a little bit here, so I'm just going to grab my scissors and trim that off. A little bit more. Just ink the back there. Now what I want to do is a little bit of stitching around here and around the back. So see if I have my sewing machine right to my right. So I'm going to move the camera just a little bit. Don't get dizzy. Just so you could see a little bit of what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and place it in there. Go around that thumb notch. Okay, so we've got some stitching around. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this closed. Now you can leave it like this, but I'm going to go ahead and finish the back and put in that little built-in hinge. But before we do that, let's go ahead and ink the edge. And then after I get that paper on, we're going to go ahead and stitch on that some more. I've got a half sheet of some coffee dyed paper, and I'm going to trim this off at 5 3/4. And now is when you decide if you want the hinge to be on this side or this side. I'm going to put the glue on the back of the envelope. Starting at an edge. this top part at the opening is the only one that won't have stitching. So now let's go and stitch around here. Hopefully I'm on frame. I didn't move the camera back, so I apologize if I'm not in frame. Pivot. Pivot one more time. I'm going to backspace just a couple stitches. And I like to clip my threads. I don't like them hanging out. Ink up my back. I'm going to fold that over so I can get this edge. Now fold it back the other way. And burnish that. And I've got my flap or hinge inked on both sides so that when I go to put it into the journal, it doesn't matter. I can just place it in. The inking will be taken care of. And I'll grab a shipping tag. And it fits right in there. And you can decorate that, of course, but I'm just going to make the envelopes for now. So let me move the camera back and let's go ahead and make the CD envelope. Okay, don't get dizzy. And here's our samples. And have a blank one. I dropped my knife. I'm going to need that. So let's use this one. And what I want to do first is measure. It's about 5 inches, and so 2.5 should be center of my window, and the reason I want to do this measuring is because I want to use the top portion of it to go inside the envelope and the bottom section to go on the outside. So we'll have this part here to go on the inside. So I think I'd like it to be, this be my front. So I'm going to measure up 2.5. And over from this edge by 2.5. And I'm just making a mark. So that's where I want the center of my circle cutter. And you've seen me use this before. And it's a circle scissor. It's by EK Success. It's manufactured by CFM Group or Orbis circle scissor. But I got this at a scrapbooking store eons ago, like decades. And I have seen that they do have some on eBay if you want to try to find one. And I'm looking for the number 98. It's right here. This is the one that I'm going to cut with, and where my lines cross here, that's where I want to place it on my cross there. And find my 98 again. It's right here. And hold it down. And I just put the little blade inside that hole. And spin it around. And I've got a little circle that I can use on another project. And it fits. Let's go ahead and ink the inside again. And I like to come in from the bottom. It does a better job for me. And how much room do I have here? I have about a 4.5. So I'm just going to trim off the top at 4 3/8. That way I don't have such a big piece of paper to work with. And I'll have my center. Put that aside. Get that glue book out again. I'm going to put glue on the envelope. Let's put glue on the flap also. Move that aside. Bringing my mat back so that I can line up a corner. Get it nice and parallel. And now I can line this up with the bottom also. And place it on there so everything is covered. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and use my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut, not here on the edge, but I'm going to take a sliver off of the envelope. Just so that it opens up. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same on this side. And then use my scissors and trim along the flap. I botched up this corner. There, that's better. And a little bit of inking. And of course, there's ways to do this without opening up your envelope, but I want to do some sewing, so I want it open. So here's my piece, and do I want words or that big old stain, or a little bit of both? I like that, a little bit of both. Let's do that. I get that flower. I'm going to go ahead and make a mark right here and trim this piece off so that I've got a corner to use to keep it straight. And I am coming down a little bit from the top. Because I'm going to trim this off so I have a little bit easier opening to get inside my envelope. And let's trim off this side as well. Do I need any trimming on the bottom, which would be the front? So that's what it's going to look like. So now let's go ahead and sew across here first. So don't get dizzy. We're going to try to move the camera one more time. My glue bottle in the way, so move that. And ink at the top while it's open, because we're going to go ahead and close it up now. So I'm going to start right here and stitch and come all the way around. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch on the bottom as well. Yeah, that noise in the beginning was my thread getting tangled. And of course, I forgot to put the paper on the back. You put the paper on the back and then you do the stitching. But we can fold this along that crease. Because the glue stick has dried. I don't like to fold it while the glue is still wet. You get funny bumps that way. And then I ink the edges. And boy, is that white. But I'll put something in there. Let's just place this inside the stitching. Cut that off. That will work. I'm going to ink it a little bit before I glue it down. Let's bring that camera back so that you can see what I'm doing. And then ink this white edge a bit. Well, I didn't follow plan as I had intended, but it worked out okay. So I have 3 CD envelopes and 3 other legal size envelopes with the tops cut off. Get that ruler out of there so you can see them. And thank you very much for crafting with me, and have a creative day.